Hey, what's up, everybody? AJ Casada here with my good friend Jack Austin, and really excited for today's podcast because this is going to be all about AI for business in 2026. You know, what's working now, how specifically we're using it in our companies, and how you can use it in 2026. Things to look out for, and then also some other fun stuff along the way. So, welcome, Jack.
It's great to be here, man. And I know we've been planning this for like 2 or 3 years.
3 years, I think. Yeah, we keep saying we got to do podcasts. Right? I mean, we live right down the road from each other, so
yeah,
I'm glad we can make it happen.
Finally here. So yeah, I'm excited for it, man. It's going to be good.
Totally. So just to introduce for anyone who doesn't really know, why we're talking about AI. First of all, Jack is an absolute AI expert. Most of what I've learned from him. He was actually he joined Jeff Hunter's program, which was really the first guy to like teach people about how to use AI for business many, many years ago. And Jack quickly rose to be one of the top AI consultants in the program. He's helped hundreds of businesses integrate AI in their operations. And me as well. I run a B2B marketing agency, Revenue Boost, and we help all of our clients implement AI across their marketing, lead gen process. And we just use a lot of it internally. I mean, right now we're doing what we could do with like 20 people with just like 10 people on our team. And a lot of that's just due to AI and what I've learned also from Jack. So excited to dig into it.
Yeah, and I like what you said there is like you've got 10 people doing the work of 20 people, because there's a lot of hype out there at the minute where people say, oh, I've got like one person and they're doing the work of 30 people.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things we'll dig into today is like, where should you use AI? Where shouldn't you? Like, where's that line? What can it actually do? And what's just like guru hype as well?
Yeah, totally. And I think there's definitely a lot of hype and a lot of like people overdoing it, which we'll get into, right? Because I think a lot of people, I feel like it's stressful for a lot of people because they think like I need to have all these 40 tools, like every day there's a new tool that comes out, right? But it's like I'm only using a few, on most days. But we can definitely talk about that in a way. But overall, I think it's a lot simpler than people actually make it out to be.
Yeah, totally. I think there is a lot of misinformation to try and sell SaaS out there, and
totally, or school groups.
Yeah, like anything, pick one thing, get really good at it, figure out all the things it can do, and then try and find the next thing that makes sense, right?
Yeah, for sure. So before we get into that, let's talk about some fun stuff. Let's just see kind of where we are, state of union with AI. So right now it's February 2026. Some cool things I've noticed recently in terms of AI. First of all, just the other day, the stock market went down a fair bit. Specifically, a lot of software stocks are selling off. And people believe that's because investors are worried about AI just disrupting SaaS because Claude code is now just becoming like a huge thing. So that's pretty wild. And then there was Moltbot, that AI agent that was freaking all over my Facebook feed, my LinkedIn feed. Everyone's talking about Moltbot. And then a couple days later, they got like threatened to be sued by Claude because they use the same. So first it was Claudebot. Then it became Moltbot because they had to change their name. And then now it's OpenClaw. And I think they're in the middle of rebranding to like Cheesebot or something. No, I made that last part up. And then there's Moltbook, the social media where now we're actually seeing AI interact with each other for the first time. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff happening right now. What do you want to talk about first?
Yeah, I mean, the Moltbook one's an interesting one. I think that it's crazy that we're at this point where we've got like an AI Reddit going on. Have you read any of the stuff on there?
It's wild, yeah.
Have you had a look into any of it? It's like, have you seen what these guys are talking about? Some of them are like, are you living in your operating system?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Are you fulfilling like what you should really become? And the humans think we're going to try and take over and all of this crazy stuff. But I wonder, is it just a massive marketing ploy for OpenClaw, because OpenClaw is this new tech that can do all this cool stuff like access your emails. The other day, I'm using this new AI software from one of my coaches, and I'd run out of credits on it. And basically, he just sent a text on Discord to this OpenClaw bot, and it went into his system and put the credits on my account while he was out. So there's some cool use cases like that. But then also the guy who's created it has been kind of called out for losing loads of people's API keys and all of this kind of stuff.
For sure. I mean, that's the biggest concern is like security concern. Because basically, like for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically like, to oversimplify it, it's an AI that can basically go on your laptop and just have access to all your stuff, whatever you give it, and just do stuff for you, which is pretty cool because it's, people interface with it through like WhatsApp or Discord, like you said. So like in theory, it's great. Like I can just open up my phone, go to WhatsApp and be like, hey, can you send an email to this person? Or hey, can you make this calendar event? Or hey, can you go like buy this, right? And someone actually they posted this thing where like they post on Instagram where their AI went rogue and accidentally bought a $3,000 course, which definitely seemed like BS. I think he was just doing that again as like a viral post. But anyways, yeah, it's a huge security concern, right? I think a couple thousand people like lost their API keys or got hacked or something.
Yeah. The owner of the guy who set it up, he lost like hundreds of thousands of people's API keys. And
that's
depending
crazy
on what's in there, right? Say if you've got 11 Labs API keys and other things like that, you could take someone's voice, someone's likeness. There's all kinds of security concerns around that area of it. So I've not done it yet. I've not dived in there. And I have to say I'm one of these AI experts that I'm not in a million tools. I'm not like on that, hey, here's the latest hype thing. Like I remember when VO3 came out, and I know some people were very successful, Jeff being one of them, of making ads and doing all of this stuff. And I was sat there at like 1 o'clock in the morning making weird meme videos of like an old tea advert in the UK, and I just sat there and was like, what the fuck am I
doing?
What am I doing? It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I've got all these other projects that I could be working on, and I'm sat here dicking around with like some video production software that I paid $200 a month for. I cancelled it, and I think that's the thing a lot of people get lost in. It's like just tools, and it gives you another way of like hitting dopamine, right? I've got this new tool, I've got this new thing. It's like AppSumo, you know, the same kind of vibe. Too many tools, and so.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think last Black Friday or the previous one, I bought like a bunch of things on AppSumo, maybe like 10 or 15 different things that all seemed like great deals. This was like shortly after AI, got popular. So I bought all these cool AI tools on AppSumo, and then I look back and I'm like, I literally haven't opened any of them.
Yeah.
So at that point, I just deleted AppSumo.
Yeah. I think I made a joke on your Facebook and got banned from Facebook for it as well at the time.
About what?
About an AppSumo habit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Oh yeah, I think you made it like a drug reference, like in its addiction, right?
Yeah. And Facebook took it the wrong way, or their AI did, which again is another problem, right? I don't know if you've ever had an experience with Facebook right now where they're going back and looking at all the posts that you ever did, and if they find something that they think is slightly off, you can start getting banned for it. It's crazy.
That's pretty wild. Yeah, the censorship, right? That's why a lot of people have moved to or like X now. I still call it Twitter in my mind, and then have to correct even like 2 years later.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important what you said to not get lost on these tools, because I've found myself just going down rabbit holes a million times with tools that actually don't do anything. But you can see where people get lost in it, right? Like getting excited or hyped about the next tool, because AI basically sells the dream that like every entrepreneur wants, which is like make a bunch of money without doing any work, right? So it's basically like selling. It's perceived to be like a silver bullet, right? It's just like a weight loss pill, right? Take this pill and you don't have to do any work. Yeah. And in some ways it is, because it can cut down a lot of work for you, but it's definitely not this like magical thing. But everyone's always hunting for the next tool, or obsessing about AI because they think that it could just get them to a point where they just don't have to actually work, right?
Yeah, and I think it comes to a wider problem as well with business owners, with coaches, consultants in general. Everybody's searching for this like magic pill.
Yeah.
So what's the Ozempic of business? When can I get to a point where I can replace effort? And really, it's like you can reduce effort, but you can't replace effort.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever be at a point, even when AI agents get really, really good, that there can't be a human in the loop somewhere. And I think the danger is a lot of bigger people that already have a massive audience. For them, they can just create stuff like these offers, these things for AI, and people will buy them. But if you're just brand new and you're trying to build an audience, you don't have that level of trust, right?
Yeah.
So if you try and do like a $27 offer or something like that, nobody's going to buy it.
No.
Like even with me with a couple of years experience, if I go and post that in my Facebook group, no one's going to buy that, right? So
yeah,
I think there's this thing where people are always thinking there must be an easier way. And in fact, that there generally isn't an easier way, and AI is like that. If you look at automation, for example, most of the automations that people are using have been available for like 10 years, right? The make.com stuff, and it used to be Integromat or whatever before that. Like you could do a lot of these things before, but people have realized that you can wrap that in a nice piece of ham called AI and call it like this new automated process. And it's systems that have been around for a long time already. It's just like the wrapping paper on the outside has got a bit nicer and it attracts people more.
Yeah.
I think that initial AI gold rush of like using ChatGPT and these things and prompting for information, knowledge, all of that stuff is kind of dead. It's gone. And for this year, the gold rush is like AI agents.
Yeah.
And again, AI agents can do some awesome stuff. But are they really that good? Are they really as useful as what people are making out?
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it. And I use AI a lot every single day. Like I've found the biggest ROI for me is just getting really good at Claude, getting really good at making content that sounds like me, but not trying to replace like my human input at the front end,
Yeah, definitely. No, I definitely want to talk about a couple of use cases. Like what are the things that you're mostly doing in your business that I'm mostly doing on my business on a day-to-day basis that's actually made an impact. But I want to harp on what you said about things not being people looking for the easy way, right? Because there was a big change in my business career when I just like finally stopped looking for like the easy way or the shortcut or the get rich quick. Like at this point, I don't care about having a business that shoots up to the moon like this. I'm happy with just like steady 20, 30%, 40% growth, every year. My business is not like a sexy one. It's a marketing agency, right? Eventually I want to get into SaaS and stuff, but I'm totally happy just doing something that just grows steadily, doing the boring work, and not trying to get around the hard stuff, because when you try to just like skip around all the hard stuff, you just kind of come back to the same wall over and over again, right? It's why I've seen a lot of people like pivot businesses, right? So they, how many people do you know where they're like, oh, I got 5 businesses, but like none of them actually make money. I got side hustles, right?
Me 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happens is everyone's always trying to, like, what it usually comes down to, because I used to do this as well, it's trying to skip the hard work, right? So like you launch a business, you launch an offer, you get it to whatever certain point, and then it starts to get hard because all the fun shininess wears off of the beginning phase. In the beginning, everything's new. You're living in a land of possibility, right? But then soon you get smacked with reality because you start doing sales calls, you start doing outreach, you start doing content, and you get like 1 like, and then you're like, crap, I have to do all this work to actually sell this, and then I have to deliver it, and then I have to hire people, blah, blah, blah. And then people start to run to this wall where they're doing all this hard stuff. All the excitement has worn off, and now they're in this pit of despair where like basically the beginning of any business is the hardest part because you have no resources, right? You have no audience, no reputation, no money to spend, right? And like basically you just have to figure out even if this business even works, right? So you have literally everything going against you, no money. So it's like you're working the most for like little to no or even like negative money, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, so it's kind of like you start out like on a high, then you go like straight down, and then you kind of go up. But most people don't make it past that pit of despair to go up. And it's mostly just because they are looking for the easy way. So they think, oh, the easy way is it's the offer. Let me launch a new offer. Let me launch a new business. Let me change myself. Let me pivot, right? Pivot is also another way for saying failing. But
or not giving it enough time to fail.
Yeah, exactly. So things changed a lot for me when I realized that you have to go through the hard part. And this happens in a lot of different cycles of business. There's always the next hard part, the next hard part, the next hard part, right? So I did this as well. I had different offers and I kept pivoting, but I kept reaching the same point. It was like maybe 30, whatever, 40K a month, and I couldn't get past there. And when I realized like if I kept changing my business, I realized that for me to get to the next level, it was not about changing my business or changing my offer. It was about changing myself because the skills that I didn't have, right? And the skills, the knowledge that I didn't have wasn't allowing me to get past a certain point in my business. So if I started a new business, a new offer, it's the same shit, just a different toilet, right?
Yeah. I think that's what you said there absolutely nails it in terms of what people do, because they sit and they think, this thing, I've been doing it for a couple of months now, it's not working. It must be the thing, right? It's got to be the mechanism. It's because I'm doing cold email or whatever, and I should be doing cold DMs, right? I need to change. I need to stop. But at that point, what you need to do is think, it's because I'm not good enough yet.
Yeah.
It's because I suck, right? There's something about my skill set that isn't there yet. And how do I get a better skill set? Oh, I'm going to go and watch YouTube videos and read this and find this thing and look at this guy who's like doing 100 million a year when I'm not even making 5K, and I'm going to apply what he does, and then that's going to work. And then they do that for 2 months and they're like, this dude must be full of shit. It's not working. And it's like, you haven't done enough reps to get to a point where you've built the skills, right? And I still look at it now. The levels are crazy. So for me, like every time you get a little bit better and you practice and you get that skill by practicing and doing it and repeating the same boring things over and over again, you think, oh, I'm here. And then you find another level. And then there's another level and another level and another level. And that never ends. So really, to be a successful business owner, you need to get to that understanding that you will never know where the end is. Yeah. There will never be a point where you've got it all figured out, and there will always be something else to learn. And then you have to accept that you enjoy the process. And I think that's the mistake a lot of people make when they're deciding what route they're going to do lead generation, for example. Like they pick one and they might start getting a little bit of success, but they don't like that route. So they keep going, and they hate it, but it starts to get results and results. All of the different methods will work.
Any business, yeah.
Any business method. You can build an email list. You can do all of this stuff. Like my story changed because I used to do sales calls, right? That was what I did. I did cold DMs. I got people into a 15-minute discovery call and then a 1-hour sales call, and I closed them on a high-ticket offer. And it worked for me. Like at the beginning of last year, I closed 3 7K deals in about 21 days, right? It was awesome. But it took me 12 hours a day. I was constantly building it. If I had an off week or a week down, it would stop. It would slow down. I'd get burnt out. People would get sick of it. I felt like dirty doing it. It didn't feel great to me. And I always said to myself, well, one day I'll have a big enough following that I can go and build an email list and just send emails and do all of this stuff. And I got to the end of last year, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Yeah. Why am I building it this way when I know I don't want to build it that way? It's like, oh, in the future I'll build it in the way that I want to do it. No. So I switched and I started doing email. Now I don't do any sales calls with people. And I start to get calls that way just by sending an email every day. And it's like, if you're sat there thinking, oh, I don't, which route's going to work, forget that. Think which route matches me? Which one am I going to enjoy?
Which one am I actually going to stick with if I enjoy it, right?
Yeah. And then even that will get boring, but just keep doing that route and it will work, right? So if you want to have a lifestyle where you don't have to be chained to your computer doing 12-hour days every day, you will have to do that for probably
like a digital slave.
Yeah.
Right?
Then build something that doesn't require you to do sales calls and one-to-one coaching, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's like, people get stuck with that because they don't want to pick a route because they want the thing that works. Newsflash, like everything works. You just have to do it for long enough and be shit at it for long enough to work it out, you know?
Everything works if you do the work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, that's powerful. I think that's such a huge unlock because sometimes if I'll get like someone who'll text me who's like trying to start a business or whatever, the question I always get asked is like, what's the best offer start? What's the best industry? What's the best niche? And they all work, like any particular business, right? Marketing agency, SEO, SaaS, AI startup, like you can look at any industry, even like not an online business, like garbage disposal or painting or roofing, right? Any industry, there's loads and loads of people making like millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, right? Most industries, at least billions of dollars. So you can look at any particular business model. If someone else is doing it, that proves that it works, right? So like I was helping this guy start like a video production agency, and he's like, does video production really work though? Is this a business? And I was like, what do you mean? Like there's like billions of dollars. Like there's like thousands of agencies that do it and make loads of money, right? So I think it's just kind of a way to also people that are getting started try to like avoid like a lot of people that don't even like start or they try to have the perfect plan. It's like you said earlier, they want that certainty, right? Like Tony Robbins says we all have like 6 needs, and one of them is we crave certainty, right? And that caused a lot of people just to never get even started because they're just always looking for like that perfect thing, and they know that if they actually start, it happens a lot with creatives, right? Or like artists or like, and I've been guilty of this too. Like I've been getting into like comedy stuff the last year, and for a while I never even started because I'm like, well, if I actually build something, then I release it, then I'm going to have to then face rejection, right? So that's kind of the unconscious thing that kind of prevents people from starting a lot.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I can give an example of what changed there for me. So I used to build things and I'd spend like 3 months building like a program or a course or whatever, lead magnet, whatever it was. And then I'd release it and nobody wants it.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd spent all this time and energy building it up, getting it ready and all of that stuff. The beginning of this year, I launched a new program, a high ticket offer, right? I sent it out for 10 days. Nobody bought it. But I've not built it, so it doesn't matter, right? And I got the feedback. So I went out, and if I'd have sold it, I would have built it because I had the building blocks of it already. But the point is, people are often so scared to just put stuff out there and see what actually happens that they waste all of this time creating stuff. And you mentioned Tony Robbins, like he has his 5 steps to succeeding at anything, right? So step 1 is that you pick a goal. Step 2 is that you figure out why you want that thing. Step 3 is that you take massive action. Step 4 is that you notice what's working or what's not working. And step 5 is that you change and try as many different things as you can until it works, right? Now, you can't do that if you spend 3 months, 6 months thinking about something. Like that first year, you're better off launching an offer every single week and getting feedback and seeing who buys it, right? You're much better off doing that. And I think people get hung up on that. I need this core offer. I need all of this stuff.
I need this whole funnel. I need all these upsells. Exactly.
Yeah, but the way things are right now, like because there's a lot of charlatans and basically arseholes in the industry, people are like, trust is at an all-time low online because everybody looks like an expert, right? Everybody's posting like they're making $100,000 a month.
Yeah.
And because trust's at an all-time low, if you're brand new starting a business, you need to be able to do something small and give people an amazing experience, because if you create a fan from that process, they'll be with you forever. Like I have people that buy my webinars every month just because they want to be part of it. They know what I do is good, right?
Yeah, you're true fans.
Yeah, exactly. They're true fans, and people get this wrong. Like the worst piece of advice that I hear new businesses get, or coaches and consultants, is I'll charge what you're worth. So people come in who have never coached anybody,
try to charge $20,000 for a program,
and then they sit there for 12 months with no clients, no customers. Like it's the wrong advice. And I think sometimes people give this advice because they forget where they came from and where they started. Like if you're a brand new coach, you're better off having 10 clients at $500 and delivering for them than you are waiting for someone to pay you $10,000 for a year.
Yeah.
Because this guy, he started and he took $500 a month every month from 10 people. At the end of the year, he's coached 100 people.
Yeah.
This dude who sat there waiting for one $10,000 that he can blag into doing it and not get any results for, he's not done this at the end of the year.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's the problem. A lot of times the problem with like business content online is a lot of times people will just hear something from a guru and then they'll think that applies to them at that stage, right? It's almost like why a lot of really rich people will be like, oh, just do what makes you happy. You know, don't work so hard, work-life balance, because like now they could just chill, right?
Yeah.
But they weren't like that when they were starting. So it's really important that whoever you're taking your advice from, and they're at a similar level to you or a couple steps ahead, or if they're like all the way up here, that's fine. But you have to make sure that their advice applies to where you are, because it's always about doing the right thing at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I really respect people like Hormozy and his content, because he does the sort of things that you can apply at the beginning.
Yeah.
But he also makes it clear when he's doing something for people at different stages of their business, you know? So I think you get both from people like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's trying to do this stuff too early. If you go back to, there's a really cool story where there's this professor from like the 80s or whatever, and they're doing like 2 art projects, and he gets one class and he tells them, you've got to make like the perfect vase or the perfect bowl. I can't remember exactly, but the perfect thing. So this class goes away and they do that. The other class is like, you're going to be graded on how many you make. It doesn't matter how good they are. You just keep making them. So make as many as you can. You're graded on the best one. You're graded on how many you make. And at the end of the semester, the people that had made tons of them had the better part because they just kept making them and making them and making them and getting better. Whereas these guys sat down and were like, oh, let's plan how we do it. How do we make the perfect part? What's the science behind it? Let's read all these books about how we do it perfectly. And then they made one thing, but they hadn't had the reps to actually make it work. So I think that's like, that applies to everything. It's a universal law. The same way compound interest is, right? You see nothing for a long, 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 long time, and eventually you see the results. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I love that story. I mean, I think it's a great example about entrepreneurship, right? So that's one thing that I've always really tried to do is just, I mean, that's one of the things that has come naturally to me is just being like a fast actor. Like, so some people are like fast implementers where they can implement quick, and then they have to, the thing for me is to work on actually like getting better at, you know, the details and like following through with things, right? But then some people are the opposite, where they'll just take forever to plan and be perfectionists, like that engineer brain, and then they have a hard time starting. But at least the benefit of that is they're very detail oriented, they think things through. So there's just kind of different skill sets to each side. But yeah, when I started this agency, Revenue Boost, when we started, I basically just launched an offer real quick, you know, our monthly service for outbound campaigns. All I had to put together was a Google Doc, right? And someone was asking me recently, they wanted to like look into our operations to see like how we built our systems, our SOPs, our team, our automations. And I was showing them everything, but I built everything like along the way. So I only built, because I made a mistake in the previous business. My previous business, I got really excited when I learned about like business systems, right? And I read Dave Jennings' book, Systemology. It was a friend of mine. And I got really excited about like building systems, building SOPs, had like 40 SOPs that sat on my Google Drive and did nothing. Spent all this time and money and like bothered my team to make all this stuff that no one even used, right? Because, you know, especially in a small business, right, everything changes so often, right? It's crazy to just systemize everything when everything's going to change in a while, right? So what I did this time was I really just focused on like when we started Revenue Boost, just building things that we needed as we went along and launching things imperfectly and just improving as we go. So we launched our offer. It was just one service. All I had was a Google Doc to kind of summarize the offer. Just hopped on. I didn't really have a sales process. I just hopped on the call with people. Like obviously I know how to sell and I have like questions I ask in a process from doing this for a while. But I didn't build any like sales decks or anything. Literally just as soon as we wanted to get this business started, we just launched it, got people on calls. And in terms of the systems, like all I did was I hired one person first to kind of like help me with the delivery, and then figured, okay, what do we need next? Let's get the next person as we need them, right? Once we're at capacity, kept doing that over and over again. And at first, our initial systems, like we were operating in Slack for a while. We didn't have project management tools. Like I know a lot of people, they'll sit there, they'll build out this project management workflow, ClickUp, Airtable, automations, whatever, and then you don't need any of it, right? So I made sure that we launched our offer. We could at least get our first 5 to 10 high ticket clients. And then still at that point, everything was in basic spreadsheets to track. We don't need these advanced systems, right? We're still in Slack. Now, eventually, once we had like 6, 7, 8 people, then we started getting ClickUp. But I'm really happy the way I did it because I really just focused on building things as we needed, launching it imperfectly, and changing later because you can always change it later. And I think it's especially important with marketing, right? You're not going to sit there and make the perfect marketing plan, the perfect campaign, the perfect offer, especially like content, right? Like the only way you get better at content is by doing it a crap load of times. Like why is Hormozy good at content? Because he literally puts out like hundreds of posts a week for like years and years. So it's just like the clay pot example. And the only way you get better is just by doing it repetition. Another Hormozy quote is volume negates luck, which I really love that. But yeah, you just have to do it and get it out there. This is also why I think a lot of big companies are at a disadvantage and why there's so many huge companies getting disrupted by startups now, because startups can just have an idea. they can launch an offer, right? And they can just move. They can make a decision and just start really quick. But a big company like Salesforce, they have a new idea. It has to go through weeks and months of like going through meetings and meetings and meetings and approvals and approvals and approvals. And now with how fast the business world moves, that just doesn't work. So that's why we are seeing, and we're going to keep seeing, all these huge big companies just getting disrupted, which is why it's a great opportunity for anyone with a startup or anyone with a new idea to like actually take something away from these big people, because they just can't keep up, right?
Yeah.
And all these huge companies, I see barely any of them actually doing anything meaningful with AI. Like now in every app I use, every software we use, they all slap AI in, right? It's like, oh, this is an AI-enabled workflow, and all the AI features are like garbage, right?
Yeah.
It's always just like they just slapped it in because they just couldn't really like think it through. And they're just trying to keep up with the trends. But yeah, we're going to see a lot. I mean, it's like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, right? The stock market went down a couple points the other day. It's mostly the software stocks kind of going down. And it's because of this. A lot of investors are worried about all these big SaaS companies getting disrupted by a kid in their basement who's 16 years old that can vibe code an app. And I mean, even like Maltzbook or whatever the hell it's called, Cheesebot. Maltzbot. That was just like launched like supposedly like as a side project, and then it got like an insane amount of users just in a couple of days, right? So it's crazy.
Yeah, I think that with the whole AI bubble, it's like it's a bit of a just keeping the economy going situation.
Yeah,
and a lot of it is not really as great as what people make it out. You know, it's all hype on that. But back to what you said about SOPs, just want to address that one. I have 3 VAs that work for me. I don't have any SOPs.
Yeah.
Not one. And we use Google Sheets for pretty much everything.
Simple, yeah.
Like I got Go High Level, and I just use it to create landing pages and put the payment links on. It's literally all of this stuff for me, particularly because I don't really serve clients in the sense of like what you do, right?
Agency,
you have people, you're an agency. I'm not. I do have a couple of done for you clients, but there's just no need for all of this extra complexity. To me, it's a total waste of time. And I did the same with you. I had all these SOPs and all this stuff and processes, and you don't need them when you're running lean and you communicate well. If you have a team that you communicate with daily, that's it. And I think again, it goes back to what the problem people have with AI is they want to outsource all their effort. Like one of the things that I made a mistake with is last year I built a really good bot for commenting on people's profiles.
I remember that, yeah.
And it wasn't like the usual crappy bot where you see them going, oh, and how did that make you feel? Oh,
so cringy. Some of the AI comments are so cringy. Everyone was doing that for a little while, and it was pissing me off.
Yeah, right. It's like when you saw, and I mentioned this in another podcast, but when you saw Cloudflare go down last year, you noticed there was no comments on anyone's stuff on LinkedIn because nobody could use AI to make the comments. And so I've stopped doing it. I've stopped using AI for comments totally because it's a front-facing thing. And if you think about it, right, when you're going in, granted, if your VA's doing it, sometimes they're saying random stuff. Like I had a Claude that I'd made be challenging, and it was like going and like cussing people out and stuff on.
I remember. Didn't you have one scenario where there was like it said something really like awkward about someone sharing a personal story or something?
Yeah, and also it said, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was terrible. Or it's like I saw it did one the other day where because on Twitter I've got one as well. It's a slightly different approach, and it's like, oh, what a great long message about not doing sales posts to sell something, and it was just like calling people out and stuff, which is kind of funny, but it's not exactly what you want.
No.
But yeah, like why when you're commenting, somebody's taken an effort to like reply to your post or something, and then you're putting it through AI. It really doesn't make any sense. And if you think about the time, it's like by the time you've gone and copied the post, copied the comment, gone over to Claude, pasted it into your project.
You could just do it yourself. Yeah.
Like you could just do it yourself. And obviously typing these comments out all day, it takes a piss. It takes ages to do. You're better off again. Now we've got tools like Whisper, where you can just press a couple of hotkeys, record your voice, and it will make sure it's like formatted properly and in the right language for you and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And I just do that now. So all of my comments are me. And I just go, hey, I think this is really cool because of this, this, and this. And I already noticed that those comments get more impressions on LinkedIn than like all of these crappy, great post, good job.
Yeah.
Like comments that people put
It defeats the purpose. Yeah. I think too many times with AI, like people are prioritizing efficiency over effectiveness. So I always try to prioritize effectiveness first, right? Like if you have something that's just like a crappy process, right, and you make it more efficient, all you have is a more efficient piece of shit, right? So a lot of times, like for example, you're automating comments. Well, you're being efficient because you're saving time, but it's not actually helping your business if those comments are actually hurting your brand or they're just not actually building any meaningful conversations online. So I think people get too excited about saving time, and I've done this as well too. Like there's been times where I was like, I remember like so I got into like this phase where I just didn't want to have any meetings at all, right? I'm like I want to have all my day just to work on like deep work, and then I realized, wait, by not having at least a 1 hour a week one-on-one call with my fulfillment department leader, like, yeah, I'm saving that 1 hour a week, but how much time am I spending in my week having to like fix problems or like communicate or message, you know? So I was like, just a lot of examples where I'm trying to save time and it's not actually helping my business or saving me time. So I realized like, okay, it's not just about saving time. It's more about like optimization, automation, AI, time management. It's not about saving time. It's more just about getting the most value for your time, right? But the right things that you should be doing, like you should be doing that, right? Like there's still big influencers, big creators that'll still spend 30 minutes a day. Like Gary Vee is really known for this, right? Gary Vaynerchuk. He still will spend half an hour a day, an hour a day actually replying to comments. And he's one of the biggest followers online. So if he can do it, then you can do it too with your freaking 10,000 followers, right?
Crazy, yeah. And this is the thing. So a story I mentioned the other day is that when people automate the wrong things, it becomes a waste of time. So for one example, and I think it's probably ManyChat that's being used, there's a dude I respect. I love his content. It's awesome. He's got like 300,000 followers on Facebook. And I engage with his stuff. And recently I commented on something and he sent me a message, which automated. And it's like, do you want this resource about AI writing? It's like, yeah, sure. Send it over, man. No reply. Forgot about it. And then like a few days later, I saw another cool post that he did and I commented and I got the same automated message. Hey, dude, like, do you want this thing?
And he just still hasn't sent it?
And he still hasn't
He's
sent
keeping
it.
you in suspense.
And I replied back to him like, oh, dude, I think there's something wrong with your automation. You might want to check it out. And still nothing. So it's like, you've spent all this time and energy building an audience of 300,000 people. Nobody needs 300,000 people to make money.
Yeah.
Like if I have 100 fans, loyal fans that will buy my $100 webinar every single month where I give them some value, teach them how to do something, that's 10K. Everyone's like, so many people online don't make 10K a month. I know it looks like everybody does.
It looks like everyone does, yeah.
Like 90% of coaches don't even make money, right? Most content creators make like $16,000 a year or something. Not even that, $6,000.
I saw something about that, yeah.
Yeah, so like to get to 10K, is as simple as getting 100 people that really respect you, that you've delivered good experiences to. So why then scale to 300,000 people? Right, I get it, but then what's the point in having this message that sends me and asks me if I want a lead magnet? Because now I don't think less of the dude. I just think, well, what are you doing? Like, what are you wasting your time on with all this scale? You're better off with 1,000 really good fans, right?
Yeah.
If I have 1,000 true fans that all buy the $100 webinar, like, that's more money than you're ever going to need, you know?
Yeah. And in that case, or, you know, have the 300,000 followers, but at least reply to people or hire someone to do it. Or if you're going to use AI, like actually monitor, right? Because again, that's all this work that, you know, 10, 20 years to put in to build that audience, that personal brand. I know you're talking about, because you mentioned this to me before. His name is, no, just kidding. We're not going to call him out. But all those, 20 years to build that audience. And then, you're going to sacrifice some of those relationships and brand just because you tried to use an AI to save a minute here that actually just, they say, like, what's the quote about reputation? It takes, it takes a long time to build a reputation, but it takes only minutes to break it. Right.
Yeah.
So I think, actually, no, this is exciting. I like talking about how not to use AI. We will talk about how to use AI and some of the best things to do in a minute. But I think let's go deeper into just how to not use it, right? Because that's really where, I'm seeing a lot of this. So, for example, that's one great example. Using AI comments that are just like making you look like a fool, right? Because honestly, your audience is the most like you can get so much value just engaging with your audience in comments. It could take 15 minutes a day, but you know how excited people are. Like if I was going to comment on Hormozi's post and he's going to reply back, that's like made my day, right? Like I'm definitely a Hormozi fanboy, right? So you don't realize how much it means to people when you actually just reply back to them. It takes a freaking second. But yeah, the AI comments is one. Like, I mean, the funny example you shared before is where your club was cursing people out on their posts, which is pretty funny. But that's a bad example, right? Because honestly, you mentioned the keyword public facing, right?
Yeah.
Anything public facing, like I would never let an AI generated post go out on my social media without me checking it. I wouldn't even let my team post something on social media without me just having a quick look on it, right? So anything public facing, that's where you have the highest risk for something goes wrong. So I just like to look at a lot of things in terms of like risk versus reward, right? Like if the risk is low, I mean, we talked earlier about launching things fast and just, starting something and then optimizing it along the way. That also depends on how much risk there is, right? I'm not going to jump into a project, launch something fast, and just really try to like learn along the way if it's something that's going to take like a really long time or a lot of money to create. Or let's say it's like an irreversible decision. Like if I do this wrong, it could ruin my reputation. Like that's something where I am going to take more time, plan it out, right? So not everything's, I just look at everything in terms of the risk, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, anything public facing that you're using AI for, that's a risk, right? So you have to at least look at it. So we use AI for our content. I use the process you showed me of making my own Claude project. But I'm always looking at it before it goes out. And you can see this as well. So I made a post about this yesterday, but a lot of people's AI generated content sounds like AI. And I'm all for using AI in content. We all should be. But what bothers me is when someone just posts AI generated content that you can just tell it's straight from ChatGPT. You lose so much credibility with that, right? And everyone can tell now. People know, we see the M dashes, we see the emojis, we see the phrases, right? Like, it's not this, it's not this, it's this, right? Or here's the kicker.
Not A, not B, not C, it's C. Yeah,
exactly. Or here's the reality, right? So like, I mean, sometimes I see a couple of creators I like and I can see a post that was very clearly written by AI and it's kind of disappointing. And I kind of stopped paying attention to their posts, right? So use AI in your content, right? But use it right. And anything that's public facing where it's going out from your brand, your business, anything customer facing, like think about it, right? If an online business was like if we were to compare an online business to a physical business, like a restaurant or a cafe, basically your storefront is like, your physical storefront is like the front end of your online business, right? Your customer service chatbot on your website, who picks up the phone, right? Who answers the emails, the social media posts that go out, the content that goes out, right? Everything that touches the customers, right? The front end of the business, the marketing, the sales, the customer service, that's where people are making their first impression of you from, right? It's like if I was going to invite you to like some restaurant, right? And you drive up to the restaurant and then it's like in some ghetto and it looks dirty and there's homeless people sleeping in front of it and the sign's like broken. You're like, I don't want to go in this place. It could have the best food, but you're not going to go in that place, right? So all of these interactions, marketing and sales, customer service, that's where people are judging our business. So I mean, honestly, that is also, in my opinion, the best way to use AI. Like that's where most people are using AI, marketing, sales, customer service, right?
Yeah.
But you have to you can't just let it go off the rails. You have to monitor what goes out. And like you said, human in the loop. So for me, my rule now is we don't do anything with AI that isn't checked by a human, right? Because it could cause problems, right? And again, there's some areas where the risk is higher than others, like customer service, contents, or whatever.
Yeah, and I think it's one of these things, right? If I gave you 2 diamonds now, and on this table, I put down 2 diamonds, and I gave you a jeweler's loop, and one of the diamonds is real and one of the diamonds is fake, you're going to look at them, right? Because you don't know shit about diamonds, I'm assuming, and I might be wrong.
I don't.
Yeah, so...
Actually, my dad was no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, my dad was a diamond grader down in the mines. But if you look at those 2 with the jeweler's loop, you're not going to know which one's which, right?
No.
So if you're not a copywriter and you produce a piece of content with AI, you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, that's fine. But somebody who knows is going to see all of the issues in it. And it goes deeper than just removing the words like, I'm not even sure if AI does this anymore, but removing those words it always uses. It certainly does things like sound familiar and all of these things.
So many things, yeah.
But as someone who understands copy on a deep level like you and I do, I can look at a piece of AI content and I can go, setup phrase. Here's the thing. Or whatever. That setup phrases are garbage. It's not A, it's not B, it's C.
Yeah.
Or defensive statements where it's like, you don't want to do this, you want to do this. Or the thing about that is that it's this. And there's lots more things that AI does that most people just never notice. Another one is like anaphoras, right? So it's like the thing, the. Every sentence starts with the same word.
Yeah, and then everything has like perfect symmetry, right? Like it's like too perfect. Then you can I think humans have this sense to know what's inauthentic. It's like when you're looking, I mean, now it's gotten better, but usually when you're looking, if I'm looking at an AI video or an AI image, right? You can just kind of like sometimes, even if it's not obvious, even if there's not like 7 fingers like there used to be, right? We have this sense to know like what's not real or what's real, and it definitely happens with content too.
Yeah. So one of the things with AI images, I used to use them exclusively. I think my LinkedIn profile picture is still an AI image, actually. I need to switch it. Everywhere else, it's got me in like a flat cap looking like a proper British Yorkshireman with a cup of tea. But my LinkedIn, I think, is still that professional photo. But I stopped using it for like images of me. And I was never putting myself like next to a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or whatever. It was me in natural settings. And now I just use like normal selfies, pictures of where I live, like outside, not like, oh, look, here's me flexing, just like a sunset or something. But what I do use AI for, which is awesome, is making memes. But you can make memes with you in them. So like if you use Gemini and you go to Nano Banana, yesterday when I posted on LinkedIn, it was like the Pablo Escobar meme. But instead of Pablo Escobar, it's me.
That's awesome, right? Yeah.
Or like the dog in the house with it all burning down. It's like me sharing my true thoughts on LinkedIn. And instead of the dog being the dog, it's like the dog with my face. or the clown meme. You can put you as the clown and stuff. So for that kind of thing, it's amazing because people know you're using AI.
Right. You're not trying to hide. You're not trying to it doesn't feel like they're being tricked. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're linking it to like something funny. So they remember it. It stops the scroll and that kind of stuff. I messed around a lot last year with like AI avatars as well. And now they are much better. Like with stuff like Kling, you can make an AI avatar where it moves the same as you, the mouth moves in the same movements, and you can clone yourself and do it that way. So it's actually moving like you would on screen, but it's still not you. And when somebody's like watching your video and they're starting to resonate with this AI avatar, when they actually talk to you, it's not going to be the same thing. So then you're left with a choice, right? You can either try and act like you're this thing the whole time, which is exhausting.
Just walk around and be like, here's the kicker.
Yeah.
Here's the reality.
Or you can just be yourself in the first place and repel the people that aren't interested and attract the people that are, And I think for me, that was the biggest change where I noticed that my engagement went down. My open rate on emails went down.
You got bald.
I got bald.
Your wife left you.
My wife.
Everything went down.
Everything went down the pan. But all of these metrics that people say are success, they all started to go down. But in private, the conversations people had with me started to be better. People reaching out and saying, dude, like, amazing that you posted this thing. Not that's amazing, not AI generated, but, it's actually interested in what you're saying because it's real. And I think we get it the wrong way around, right? People put the AI here at the start of the process for content, for ideas, for courses, whatever. And then they go here and then the output comes out of the other side. It needs to be the other way around, right? You need to be here with the ideas, maybe even get a pad and a fucking pen, right? And think of the process, the idea, the content. And that's what I do now is I do a reflection and then I use my AI to process that reflection. So then that way it's going to be uniquely me.
Yeah.
Right?
The AI is just helping to shape it and polish it and save you a little bit of time creating it, right?
Yeah, like I don't believe in pre-recording like 2 months, 3 months of content. Because if I look back at my content from 3 months ago, it makes me cringe.
Yeah.
And it should make you cringe because if it doesn't, it means you've not progressed far enough in that time, right? So if you're sitting there in January this year and you're making your content out till March, like there's no journey there. There's no experience. There's no truth. Like people are going to feel that it's just like, oh, I sat down for a whole day and made like 150 pieces of content. For me, that's just not the way to do it, particularly if you're like new and you don't have an audience. You should be sharing daily. You should be doing it daily because the second part of it is like, if I just make loads of content one day and then I don't make any content for 3 months and then I make another 3 months,
you're going to be shit.
I'm going to be shit.
Yeah.
But if I make content every single day, I'm going to look and get better and work things out and start to improve and get feedback from the audience and see what's working. It's like, again, we try and focus on the wrong things, particularly with my market, coaches, consultants, they're like, I just want to coach. It's like, well, if you just want to coach, go and work for a coaching company.
Yeah.
Because if there's a fantasy that you can just put in like an hour a day and it's going to work in terms of a business. It's not.
Never.
Like what Hormozy says, if you're making less than $1 million a year, and I know not everyone wants $1 million a year, then you need to be spending the first 4 hours of every day on content, outreach,
ads, something.
Or a mix of two, right? 4 hours. So you have people out there, it's like, oh, can I just do one post on LinkedIn and do it 4 days a week and it's going to work? You might as well not bother.
You might as well not bother.
just
get a job.
Yeah. Like literally, you'll save yourself heartache, if you just want to coach. And there are plenty of companies out there that will hire good coaches. So don't put yourself through the pain of it.
Yeah.
Understand that in the way the world is now, with so many people having access to create content, you're going to need to do a lot of it, right? Like right now, I post probably 35 to 40 pieces of content a day.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's repurposing. So like my one short video will go on 6 platforms.
Yeah.
I take my daily insight. I use my AI process to create my email that goes out every day, 7 days a week without fail. Then my email becomes like my LinkedIn post, my 4 posts for Facebook that are all different angles from that email, 4 on Instagram, 6 tweets, 6 thread tweets, toned down because extra threads is like a different world. And yeah, like all of that content becomes that. And then I do a weekly YouTube video, and then I go live about the same kind of topic in the YouTube video. The video is usually the 5 things I spoke about in my emails that week made into like a listicle format. And that's what it takes. And then you have to do that for a long time with nothing happening before you start to see any results as well. It's not like I'll do this for 3 months and it'll work.
Yeah, there definitely is no 4-hour work week. I don't even think Tim Ferriss works 4 hours a week. I think he still works more, right?
It's so funny because I was going to mention that book at the beginning because it's one I started reading, and it's, you can have a 4-hour work week if you spent 10 years creating a process doing 70-hour weeks. Like
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Lifestyle businesses are very possible. I know a lot of people that just work an hour or two a day, but they didn't start their business, work an hour or two a day, and then just make millions of dollars, right? Like you said, 10 years to actually build a process to get there. And that's totally fine if you want a lifestyle business. Not everyone wants to build a $100 million company. Like, I would not want to be a billionaire. If you were like, hey, Jay, I'll turn you into a billionaire tomorrow, I'd be like, no thanks, I'm good. Like, I don't want all the, like, everything that comes with that, right? But yeah, if you want to build a lifestyle business, there's still the process to get there. You're still going to have to grind. And I love that 4-hour rule from Hormozi of just spending your first 4 hours of your day on marketing. If everybody listening just did that, if everybody listening just spent 4 hours a day on marketing, it would be impossible not to succeed unless you were literally the worst entrepreneur and like the least talented person in the world, which probably nobody is. But even if you are, you're still probably going to do better than someone who's spending an hour a week on their marketing. Like, a lot of people are like, hey, why don't I have enough clients? Why don't I have enough leads? Well, how much time are you actually spending doing outreach, doing content, doing ads, getting clients? It's like most people, it's like nothing. Oh, I just wait for referrals to come in. So that's just basically saying like, hey, I'm just going to wait for people to show up at my house and just throw money at me. But no, you have to actually just go out there and get it, right?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, even at 4 hours a day, then people's expectation of how long that's going to take is usually off. You're probably talking a year.
Right. So it's not just
2 years.
It's not just, hey, let me spend 4 hours on my marketing tomorrow. It's let me do that consistently for every year. But no, I love that. I think it's like, it's almost like physics, right? Like in physics, there's like laws of the universe. This is like a law of business. If you spend 4 hours a day marketing, like it's impossible not to get clients. Like it's just because it's the volume. Even if you're not very good at it, even if you're not very optimized, right? Just still, you're going to get better by actually doing those 4 hours because you're going to pick up the skill and the experience, right? But either way, you're just like, the more offers you make to people, the more leads you get, the more sales you get, right? Now, as you get better at marketing, as you get better at sales, you can get higher conversions. You can get more leads, more sales for less effort, right? Because you just get better at it. But no matter what, like, it's like, so, we help people with cold email, right? As a lead gen source. If I sent 100,000 cold emails today promoting your offer, like one of your, like, let's say your school group, right? Your AI school group. If I sent 100,000 emails today, even if it was my first time running cold email and I wasn't very good at writing it, if 100,000 people hear about your AI school group, somebody's going to buy it, right? Somebody's going to be like, I was just looking for one, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, volume definitely negates luck. And it's, if you just put in the work, it's impossible. It's one of those things that people don't like hearing because it's not the cheat code. It's not the sexy thing. But if you just do the fundamentals and you do them for a long time and you keep doing them, like the outcomes create themselves, right? Like the score takes care of itself.
That I kind of had this mindfuck last year with cold DMs and this exact same process because I realized that when I got a couple of the clients that I got, I was thinking, I went back and analyzed it because obviously you're trying to replicate the process. This is how I got clients, so I'm going to try and replicate and do the same thing. And when I analyzed the DM structure and the sales call and what happened, the realization I came to is that they were just ready to buy some shit. Like they were ready to buy LinkedIn client acquisition stuff. And I happened to be in their inbox on the day that they were ready to start moving towards this buying process. And it made me realize that you're never actually putting people onto your services. You're avoiding putting people off. Right? So they're going to buy LinkedIn client acquisition services from someone that month. And you happen to be the one that's in their inbox. As long as you don't fuck it up by saying something that you shouldn't say, right? Or like putting them off or whatever, then you're going to make the sale. And that kind of twisted my head a little bit, but it makes sense of like, if you're in the game, you got to buy a ticket to win the lottery. It's like if you don't buy one, you ain't going to win. Right. It's like they say what's the Ben Franklin quote or whatever. Who knows what these quotes? For a lot of times it's like all the quotes come. It's like we're just got a random quote.
There's so many quotes from Ben Franklin, right? So they really all come from him, right?
Look it up yourself, folks.
But he says the harder I work, the luckier I get, right? So again, with sales, with marketing, if you got in front of so many prospects, right? You're just going to get lucky where somebody's like, I just freaking needed this today. And like, you were just the lucky guy to show up. Right.
Yeah.
And then, again, you get better at it. But what you're saying there is, with that guy that really needed your LinkedIn stuff and was looking for it that day. Like one time I sent someone a cold email and he was like, dude, what sort of so he bought the next day a 10K program. This was a couple years back. And he was like, dude, I was literally thinking about cold email, hiring someone the day you emailed me. He was like, you must have had some crazy advanced AI system that could detect my intent. And I was like, no, you were just on my list, right? So that's back to the stages of awareness, right? So this is probably my favorite marketing concept, is from Eugene Schwartz's Breakthrough Advertising book.
I just bought that book.
Yeah, that definitely. So this is like the one marketing mental model that I use more than anything, right? The stages of awareness. People are either, everyone in your market is at a different point in their buying journey. People are either unaware, as in they don't know they have a problem. They're problem aware, they know they have a problem, but they haven't really started looking for solutions. They're solution aware, they've started to actually understand their problem and they want to do something about it, and they're exploring possible solutions. And then they're most aware, they're product aware, then most aware, which is now they know about your offer and other competitors, and now they're just trying to like choose the right deal, right? So it's been said that less than 3% of any market is solution aware. So no matter what you're selling, someone right now needs what you do. Someone right now is thinking, I need this thing that Jack has. They're not saying Jack, but they're saying, I need some help on LinkedIn. I saw one of my friends grow on LinkedIn. I want to grow on LinkedIn, right? Or in my case, hey, I want to do some outbound campaigns. I want to do some cold email, right? So no matter what you're selling, there are probably thousands or hundreds of thousands of people in the world that are looking for what you do or have it in the back of their mind, right?
Yeah.
So you just have to actually get in front of them. So it's really not that hard. So again, the more offers you make, the more you get in front of people. Now, how you really scale your marketing is you start to market to people that are problem aware, people that they have dealt with the problem that your solution solves, but they're not necessarily like looking for it. And they're a little bit harder to market to, harder to sell, takes a little more creativity, but that's where you can kind of put them in that problem state with your messaging and get them to be like intrigued. They're like, oh, let me explore your offer. Let me hop on a call and learn what this is about. But if you ever had someone that was just such an easy sale, it's because they were just solution aware and they were looking and you showed up at the right time. So that's why it's just about showing up.
Yeah. And it's one of the reasons I moved away from getting people onto the sales calls as well, is like a lot of people aren't ready yet.
Yeah.
So if you move them into something where they can get to know you and they can get to trust you, then you're going to get more sales later, right? Because they're going to figure out what you're doing. They're going through the same problems. If they're your target market and they join your email list, they have these issues somewhere, right? Because 99% of problems are just shared between people generally, right? Let alone in business.
Right.
So they're already going to get to that point. And I realized that by getting them into an email list, into something like that, I could build a relationship more over time. And I don't even make offers to people that aren't in my email list. Like, I've had people ask me recently what I do, what my offer is, and I'm like, oh, join my email list, because I don't give offers to people unless they know what I'm about. And you'll get 3 emails and it will explain to you what I'm about, and then you'll see what offers I'm bringing out as they're coming out. It's like they're not available to you unless you join it. Yeah, because that's my prerequisite for working with me. Just you see what I mean? And I think a lot of people do that as well. It's another mistake, which I think another mistake people make is they're too available. They're too out there looking for stuff. It's like you need to set your boundary and your world of how you want to operate, and then stick to it.
Yeah.
Because like there's so many things like what you mentioned, marketing tactics that people use, where people try and make scarcity by saying, oh, only 5 available this week. And like everyone sees through that bullshit now.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can build scarcity now is by actually having scarcity. It's by offering things and taking them away. It's by making the
true scarcity. Yeah, definitely.
And I find that's a lot with all strategies, and particularly when you're new, you're trying to find out, oh, how do I be authentic? How do I create scarcity? How do I make my offers more irresistible? Well, just be authentic, do real scarcity, make sure your offers are experiences that you'd be proud of, right? Make sure you're proud of what you're building. Yeah. And if you are, it will work eventually.
Yeah, that's a good point about being too available. I mean, I like to think about speakeasies, right? Like those little hidden bars and alleys that have like really nice cocktails. They're always busy, right? Because they have this mystique about them where it's like not everyone can come into the club. I went to this cool speakeasy once, and I was in North Carolina, and you had to like open this like weird door, and then like they needed like a password to get in, right? So like there's like it's almost like one of those like spy movies where like the little eye slit opens in the door and they're like, who are you? What's the password? Yeah. But like then you see why those are so busy, because there's that scarcity or there's that exclusivity. So yeah, you definitely don't want to be too available.
Yeah, and on the fake side, I've heard of nightclubs that have opened like that in the past, and what they do is they just don't let anyone in for the first like couple of weekends.
Yeah, that's funny.
So everyone's just stood outside in the queue. It's like, I know it's too busy, music blasting, and
that's funny.
Same deal.
Yeah, I like what you said about your email list though. So I heard of this one really cool funnel recently. A friend was showing it to me, and it's making like just like millions of dollars, like millions a month. And their funnel was basically they put people through like they buy like a 7-hour workshop or whatever, so it's like a 7-hour like thing to like basically indoctrinate them into their process. And then they're only hopping on calls and making offers to people that have went through the 7 hours, right?
Right.
So they can basically tell who's actually, they're using like a software that can tell who's actually made it through all 7 hours of this workshop. And then they're literally only, and I think they're selling like a 50K program or mastermind or something.
Right.
But they're only getting people on the call. I think they're not even selling it through DMs, because imagine that, selling a 50K program through DMs. But if someone's went through 7 hours, like, you're creating the most indoctrinated, qualified leads. So that's a really good point you brought up about not just like, actually having a way to indoctrinate people, that you're only showing your offers through your email list.
Yeah. And I recently spoke to somebody on like a virtual coffee because she said she liked my content, and we basically got on this virtual coffee call, and she asked me what I thought of her content and her profile. And I was like, well, I've not really looked that much, right? We connected, so I'm going to get on this call with, like, let's have a look. You're willing for me to have a look right now. So I went and looked at her headline and stuff, and I was like, yeah, your headline's pretty bland. There's nothing there that really stands out as you. There's no essence of you. Your content, her hooks were really good, but this is like obviously AI, this bit not so good. And I gave her this really like valid, valuable feedback. And she was blown away by it, like totally blown away by it. And she started asking me what my offers were. And I was like, well, you need to join my email list to find out. And I followed through with it. I could have just gone, oh, well, this is my offer, and tried to sell her the thing. But that would have been inauthentic. And it turns out that she's on the board for the International Coaching Federation in the US. And she was like, I'd love for you to come and do what you just did with me with some of our members. And at the end, you can make an offer. And I was like, well, as you know, I won't. I'll offer them to join my email list. And they loved it. And the board approved it. And now I'm presenting to like 30 of them.
Dude, that's awesome.
March.
Yeah.
And again, it's like I didn't try to push anything or do anything. It's because I genuinely had an approach that they can follow that it made sense. And again, that's the other reason I changed my process, is most coaches don't want to do the whole DM to sales call to that stuff. They don't want that. But they do want to build an email list, send an email, be authentic, share their journey,
right,
and make sales that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing, is like, I believe that the way you get clients should be the way you teach your clients to get clients when you're in our business. And the thing I was doing last year, most coaches are just never going to be able to do that. They don't have the volume. They don't have the amount of books you have to read. The stuff you need to learn to get good at sales takes a long time. And you also have to have that personality. Most coaches, they don't want to do that, So there's a better way. It's been interesting. Yeah,
that's good. No, I mean, it's good to highlight that. I think with any goal you have in business or in life, there's always multiple paths to get to that goal. So if someone's like, I don't want to grow my coaching business by doing DMs and sales calls or selling a 10K program, or the opposite, I don't want to have a community of 20,000 people all paying $7 a month. You can literally find any path to the goal. So first, you can choose any goal, you can choose any business, and you can choose any path to that goal, right? Or even with marketing, right? So there's some people that don't really like doing content because they just really don't like writing or don't want to be on video, right? And then they can maybe learn something that's a little bit more tech driven, like ads or something, right? Or outbound. But you can kind of make anything work. It's just about choosing what works for you. And anytime I'm working on like a solution to get to a goal in anything in my business, I'm always thinking like, what are at least like 3 to 5 paths I can take to this goal? And a lot of times I'll come up with one path that's like way easier, way quicker, way suited towards me. So I've really gotten in the habit of stopping myself before I make a decision about like how to solve a problem, and just thinking what's the best path to this goal. For example, I was helping an agency recently. They wanted to double their revenue, so we were working out like their outbound plan and their sales strategy. And he had this crazy list of ideas where all these ideas probably would have doubled their revenue, but they would have taken so much months. He wanted to hire 5 setters. He wanted to do this. He wanted to launch a new offer. And I was like, you just want to double your revenue. You don't need to launch a new offer. You don't need to add upsells. You don't need to hire anyone else. I'm like, what's getting you most of your leads right now? He's like, oh, LinkedIn. I was like, cool. If you just double the amount of LinkedIn outreach you're sending, you'll double your revenue. Like, it's that simple, right?
Yeah.
So you really got to stop and find like what's the best way to get to my goal.
Yeah, and I think that makes total sense. And as someone, I think me and you are similar in this way, right? I like to do lots of different things and lots of activities. And in the past, that used to then manifest as like doing this offer and this idea and this business, like we said at the beginning.
Because it's
right?
exciting, yeah.
Because it's exciting. But I realized that I can still do that if my end goal is the same. And so now, for example, I just opened a free school community because I want to do something on school outside of my paid community. But the goal is that I get someone's email address when they join, and I give them my marketing plan for 2026 in return. So I can do all of these different routes and platforms and opportunities and things, which keeps me interested. But the goal of every single one of them is to get an email address. That's all I care about. I don't care about anything else. Like even in my school community, the free one, I've invited other experts to join. And I mentioned it to you as well. And I don't care if they talk to people in there and build that community and market and share their stuff, because all I want is for it to be an awesome space where I get someone's email address when they join. The rest of it, I don't care, right? It's just a community, it's just an enjoyment, and the rest of those benefits are good. So I think about what the end goal is. If it's a sales call, if it's get an email address, if it's get them to join a community, whatever. And as long as every activity that you're doing leads in some way to that one thing, do whatever you want, right? Try as many routes as you like.
Yeah. I mean, so you and I have talked about shiny object syndrome a lot. I'm a recovering shiny objectaholic, right? Ooh. Yeah, exactly. What's that squirrel? So we've talked about this a lot. And for me, I think that the way to solve shiny object syndrome is literally as simple as just having a clear goal and a clear plan to get there. It sounds boring, it sounds simple, but that's everything you just said, right? So the reason people have shiny objects, meaning they have a lot of new ideas, new offers, new marketing campaigns, new systems, they buy this course, they see someone, man, it's crazy. It's like we open up our Facebook feed and we're obliterated with like, here's how to make money doing this, here's how to do this, here's how to do this without sales calls or this, right? So it's like shiny object syndrome always existed for entrepreneurs, but it's like it's times 10 now because of social media and everyone trying to sell us their way of doing things, right? And then it's times like another 10, so it's times 100 because of AI, because now there's like 50 AI tools coming out every day, right? But when I stopped having shiny object syndrome, which I really, really used to struggle with, and when I've had the most success in my business career the last couple of years, just because of the simple thing that I did one thing, one offer, and I did it for a long time, right? Which is cold email, cold outbound. And I really waited a long time before we even added one upsell. And my upsell is just LinkedIn outreach, and then we added cold calling. So they're still like the same thing, but I only added that really after like a long, long time, right? But it's still related towards my avatar or their goal. So even though I have another offer, it's part of the same package and it's part of the same avatar helping them get to the same goal. But anyways, once I started focusing on one thing, what I realized was that when I have clear goals, like a clear vision, like a 3-year vision, and then I have clear annual goals, and then I've really thought through like the plan it takes to get there, right? So every year I just, like it's February now, right? I write down, what do I want by the end of the year? So first I start with financials, right? So first thing is what profit do I want to make, right? Because who gives a crap about revenue, right? You can make $1 million in revenue, but you could spend $900,000 on ads, right?
Which a lot of people do.
And then you'll get a ClickFunnels award. You'll have a nice 2 comma club in the background, but who cares, right? So I always start by planning what's my profit goal, and then what revenue do I need to hit that, and then what types of clients and what offer, what price point do I need to hit that, and then based on my current numbers, how many sales calls do I need to hit that? So now I know exactly how many clients I need, right? So by the end of this year, we want this many clients at $5K a month average retainer, right? And to get that, we need this many sales calls per month to actually show up, right? So then we're working backwards from that. So that's where everyone should start with their business. And then, okay, if I want to create those numbers, right? If I want this profit goal, and by the way, actually to even go a level further, before I think about my profit goal, I think about my lifestyle. What do I want my life to be like in a year? Because your business goals should support your life goals, right?
Yeah, of course.
A lot, exactly. It sounds simple, right? But a lot of people are successful and unhappy because of, in my opinion, this one thing. They focus on business goals, but they don't focus on life goals, right? So they basically build their life around their business rather than building their business around their life. So I'm always thinking first, what's the lifestyle I want to live? What actually makes me happy? Because at the end of the day, all entrepreneurs, all of us, we started because we wanted to have a better life for ourselves, for our family, right? So, but we get lost along the way because we get sucked into making money and these goals and then this course and this idea and this program and that. And then all of a sudden we're like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I wake up one day with a business that I don't even really enjoy. So
it goes right back to what I said earlier about like making sure that the route you choose suits you. Why I switched to email over this, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Not to interrupt you, but just to add to it, you know?
For sure. Yeah. It's about being clear on the vision, but flexible on the path, right?
Yeah.
Like Jeff Bezos with Amazon, right? He was always clear on his vision, but he changed the path. At first it was books, and then he kind of like adjusted things along the way. But he was always clear on his vision for like the last 20 years. So anyways, you're clear on the vision, right? So I have my yearly goal, right? My financials that I need to hit the profit goal, which is a meaningful. It's not just I want to make 100K a month because it sounds cool, right? It's a nice round number, but it's a meaningful profit goal that actually gets me somewhere in my life. And then it's about, okay, what are 3 to 5 things that need to happen in my business to get there, right? Because if at the end of the day, if you keep doing what you're doing now, you're going to produce the same numbers and the same results, right? Like if you want to double your business, you have to make like double the changes, right?
Do more.
Do more volume, do something new. It maybe, usually not.
The mosey more, basically, right? More. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but a lot of people don't, like this dawned on me a couple of years ago where I was like stuck in my business for a little while, but I was like, I'm stuck in my business, but I'm kind of the same person. I'm kind of doing the same things. I kind of have the same habits. I kind of have the same level of skill. Like if I actually want to double my business and make massive change, I have to make that much change in myself, right? Whether it's my skills or my habits or my team or whatever. So anyways, if you have your goal for the end of the year, right? And then I'll work out 3 to 5 things I need to change. Maybe it's like projects, like things we want to achieve, right? And you can just work backwards. Like if I need this many clients, like what I need to change? Is my current marketing going to get me there? Okay, no. If not, can I raise the volume on that? Can I launch a new channel?
Yeah.
Right? Do I just improve conversions?
You're reverse engineering it, basically.
Exactly. Then you reverse engineer, and then it gets really easy because you start to actually illuminate a path to your goal, right? And then it's like, okay, wait, now I figured out the marketing. Now I figured out how I can get this many clients this year, but does my fulfillment support that? Can I actually deliver for these guys, right? Well, if not, okay, who do I need to hire? Who's going to be the first person to get at capacity? And I'm going to have to replace them, add more AI, add more automation, hire someone, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, what you end up with is a list of projects and then a list of tasks, and then you just action that out. And once I learned this process, this is what cured my shiny object syndrome, right? This is what healed me.
Yeah, because then you've got to paint by numbers, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then every time there's a new thing I'm hearing about a friend doing, I'm seeing this cool new thing on Facebook, or I'm seeing this ad about this program or this new strategy, I block it out because I'm like, well, this doesn't fit within my plan. And obviously, there's still some things that change. I could be wrong in my plan. I could maybe adjust something along the way, but it's mostly the same, right? So I think that if you're stuck with shiny object syndrome, it's usually because you don't have focus, discipline, and goals, right?
Totally, yeah. And that's the framework. If people follow that, then it will work. It's similar to what I do. I do like a monthly reflection. Yeah. I just want to pull back to something you said right at the beginning, which I think a lot of people get wrong, and it's a really, really important distinction. You said about not changing your offer for a year, 2 years, right?
Long time, yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when you said offer, your offer is cold email.
Yeah.
Right? I think a lot of people think that when you say offer, it means get this for this, like the actual mechanism of the offer.
No, that's just the positioning.
Yeah. So what people do, a lot of new people, is they'll pick this thing. It's like, it's 4K for this 12 weeks or whatever, and this is how it's packaged. And then they just stick to that for 12 months and no one's buying it, right? But that's not the offer. The offer is the mechanism. Yeah, and I think a lot of new, like we know because we've been doing it for a long time, but a lot of people new to business, just starting out, they think an offer is literally like the wrapping paper that you put around it. So they'll create one, and it's usually rubbish because they're brand new, right? And then they'll just stick with that for a year and be like, why is this not working? I don't get it. What you just said there is perfect. It's the vehicle, right? So you pick email, you pick outbound, whatever it might be, right? And then you make multiple different types of offers, launching them every single week if you want to, that change the way you package them.
Yeah, you could test the packaging, exactly, but that's like the copy, the marketing magic, right? But the offer itself, I agree, is really just what you're selling, how you're delivering it, and then the terms and pricing associated with that. Everything else is just messaging and positioning. So that you should be testing, right?
Constantly. Yeah.
But honestly, I've been doing cold email for 6 years, right? Only once did I even change the vehicle where we went from cold email and outbound coaching to done for you, but it's still the same thing, just a slightly different delivery. So 6 years of just doing the same thing, and now I get people referring me all the time, people that tag me in Facebook groups. Hey, AJ's the cold email agency for B2B companies, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just sticking with one thing. Honestly, if people could take anything away from this podcast, AI aside, it's just stick with one thing, do it for a long time, and then you get the compounding benefits. Because now that I've been doing one thing for a very long time, and I've been doing outbound for longer, because I used to do like different outbound sales, and I used to do door-to-door sales, which is a story for another day. But by doing outbound for so long, I have so much skill and knowledge, right? And just so much reputation. Like the benefits of doing one thing for a while is people start to refer you, people start to know you as the guy, which is really, really powerful.
Totally.
Anyways, for the last 10, 15 minutes, let's definitely talk about AI, give the people what we promised a little bit more. So I think it's great though where we went though, because we really talked about the fundamentals of business that AI should support. Everything we talked about so far is what you should build your AI for, right? And we talked about what not to do. But at the end of the day, I think where a lot of people get lost is they think AI is the thing. AI is what's going to get me clients. AI is what's going to improve my operations. AI is what's going to grow my business. But it's not. It's these fundamentals we talked about. And AI is just an enhancer to help you do some of these things a little bit more efficiently, like content, sales, etc. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, again, so these fundamentals that we've talked through, this is what business is about, right? It's about doing the fundamentals often enough so that things work. And AI is just a tool. Yeah. It's the same as what in the past we had other tools that we used to use. We had you had to have a website, you had to sort your SEO out, you had to write blogs, like all of these kind of things. It's just a tool that's part of it. Now for me, and I'm just going to explain what I use AI for in my business rather than going down any crazy, like use this tool. Or
40 tools, Multiblock, Multibot, Cheesebot.
Yeah, I do have like 10. I use 10 SaaS and I audit it regularly and I go through and go, do I actually use this tool? And there are 10 that I use. Yeah. And we can probably talk through some of those.
Yeah, let's do it.
The main tool I use on a daily basis is Claude. And Claude is my thinking partner. So if I've got an idea, I want to talk something through, I have a prompt I've created that basically makes it become like a consultant and a coach for me. So I'll use it and say, I'm running into this issue. What do you think? And I'll have it ask me clarifying questions and go back and forth. Claude's amazing for that, right? So I use it for that almost daily. Definitely daily. And then the other thing I use is Claude Projects. So I build out prompt systems for making my content. I have one that creates my emails in my voice and style. I have one that validates whether or not the things I want to post and comment on match my positioning.
That's good, yeah.
Or whether it's me just ranting and kicking off and probably should leave it and not post. I have a bot that does my tweets and my social posts and all of this stuff, but it's all around content, copywriting, repurposing, all of that kind of stuff. I still have to read it all at the end, but I've got it dialed in to a point where it produces content that most people have no idea it's AI, but if they ask me, I tell them.
Yeah.
I don't care. So that's the number one tool for me, Claude. ChatGPT, I use honestly these days for like, I've got all these ingredients in my kitchen. What do I cook for dinner today?
Yeah, life things, right?
Yeah. Or I've got this gym equipment and this thing at home. Like, how do I mix this so that I get the best value but don't burn myself out? So ChatGPT is almost Google for me now.
Same.
And that's the tool I get in quite a bit after that. Then I use Gemini and Nano Banana for like making images, memes. It's really, really good at making thumbnails for YouTube. Right? It can be super frustrating if it goes down the wrong path. And one of the bits of advice I'll always give to people in any AI is if you're in a chat and it starts going wrong, it's often quicker to just start again.
Make a new one, yeah.
Than it is to just keep going down that same path.
Yeah.
And Nano Banana is definitely like that. If it starts to make you look weird or unusual, just take it out. You know,
that's a good tip.
Yeah, its memory's not very good. So you can also, a good tip for it is if you can start with a thumbnail, create like 2-3 versions, then take that thumbnail and put it in another chat and then make the next 2-3 changes, and then take that version and put it into another one so it doesn't start to get confused with all the other images. I probably use Nano Banana every day as well to create some kind of meme or a thumbnail or whatever else. And then it's like video editing tools, so things like Descript to put like subtitles and captions.
Or remove the filler words, remove the ums and ahs. Yeah, do it automatically.
And sometimes I leave those now because I feel like we're in a world where polished is usually AI. So people respond to a little bit of an or an ah. And I think the best way to avoid doing those is to make a lot of videos, to speak a lot, to get used to not using stop words and being comfortable in silence. And then you don't have to spend so much time editing. And again, it's by doing it over time. So they're the top tools. I use a tool called Ideogram quite a bit. It's quite good for making text. So like sometimes I'll have like a billboard in a famous city center like Times Square, and I put like the key lines from my post into Ideogram or Ideogram, and then that becomes the picture for my post. So yeah, I mean, that's like the package. It's nothing special or crazy. I don't use any mad automations or anything like that. I'm quite excited that I just saw Claude have released Opus 4.6, and apparently that has agentic capability. So it's come to my platform, which I'm a master of Claude. I've been using it 6-7 hours a day for the last 2 or 3 years, as you know. So now that's got agentic capability. If I'd have wasted my time going and learning Manus and all of these other things and whatever else, eventually it would have come to the tool that I use every day anyway. Right? So why not just pick one and stick with it?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because honestly, first of all, when you see like there's some influencers I see that every couple of days they're posting about this new AI tool is going to replace developers, it's going to replace designers, and they're always doing their thing. And I think I was talking about this with a buddy last night. Most of them probably aren't even using the tools that they're hyping up, and it's just kind of to get like some viral attention, which is fine. You know, you got to play your own game. That's their like content strategy is talking about new AI tools, right? But honestly, yeah, if you're always bouncing from tool to tool, you're never going to get actually good at one. It's the same before, as we talked about. Actually doing one thing for a while is the key to success in anything. You keep doing it, you just get really good at it, and you develop all the nuance and all the skills. So that's cool. Yeah, I think it's cool to hear all the different tools you use and the ones that are most common. And I love that it's just like really that you're using on a daily basis, right?
Pretty much, yeah, that's it, because the rest of it is noise, to be honest. I also use it for like creating titles and creating these kind of things, and the key to making it work well isn't necessarily the prompts, it's the examples.
Yeah.
Right? So the other thing is, if you're starting to make content with AI, you want to be editing things quite heavily and understanding what good copywriting is. And then you want to create a file with all of the posts that you really like, that sound like you, that that have all of those things that you want in your content in there, and then using that as like a knowledge file so that AI's got a reference to go to. Right. So to begin with, if you don't have that, you can pick someone else, right? We all imitate until we master, and then we figure out our own way to do it. So you can pick someone else that you like, and you can give it a host of their posts, but then you need to start editing the outputs.
So it sounds more like you.
And if you do that for a month on every content type that you produce, you've got these amazing data files of your stuff. And then you can start just keeping it. Like I keep every post that I do goes into a Google Doc. Every single post that I do. And then the next month I'll do another tab on the Google Doc and put all the posts from that month. Because then the progression over time, the quality of the examples you can give to AI is going to get better and better. So that's the other key thing. It's like build data now. Build your data, who you are, what you do. Like I have like a 14,000 word document of my life and my history and all the things that I remember and stuff. And I wrote that out manually, and I use that with AI to pull out insights, things I can talk about, so it knows who I am and what I'm about. You know, because as AI gets better and context windows gets better and the RAG retrieval of information gets better, the more data you give it, the better the results are going to be.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to back up and first of all, that was awesome. I want to back up and explain to the audience one thing so that they can actually implement this. So first of all, dude, you're the person I've learned the most about AI from. You're really good at it. And that one thing you shared there was the best thing that you helped me with. That's helped me the most in my business. So I really want to harp on this. For anyone who doesn't know what he's talking about, we're talking about creating a custom bot. This could be a custom GPT or a Claude project, meaning instead of going to ChatGPT and saying, write me a post about dogs, you're going into a custom version of ChatGPT you created for yourself for a specific person. That could be anything. I'll talk about a few of the ones I use as well. But essentially, the problem with AI, or at least ChatGPT, Claude, all these LLMs, the reason why most people have a hard time getting good content or anything good with marketing out of it, copy, website, offers, right, is that they're just asking it and it's all general knowledge, right? They ask it a question, and what it does is it scans the web, and all it's going to find you is it's going to find you like the average of everything. It's going to find you like there's the same kind of generic, like everything put into one, right? So by nature, it's going to be generic, and it's going to be what everyone else is putting too. So what Jack is talking about here is creating a custom bot that's trained on only your data. So instead of saying, hey, ChatGPT, do this thing for me or produce this output, which is going to be based on the internet, I want it based on this specific data. That way you can really point it and control it to get a certain result. So that was the one thing that helped me the most, that once I started implementing it, was creating custom GPTs and Claude projects.
Yeah.
The first one I did that made a big difference was a cold email copywriter. So, I mentioned before that we get a lot done with a small team at our cold email agency, right? So I was actually about to hire another copywriter, which would be at least 6 to 10K a month. But I was able to get around that because we created a copywriting bot. Now I still have my one copywriter, but they can do the work of 2 copywriters because they have this bot. So for example, instead of saying, if I went to ChatGPT and said, hey, write me a cold email for the SaaS company, it's going to be garbage. It's going to be trash, right?
Yeah.
It's going to have a lot of M dashes and a lot of here's the reality, right?
Yeah.
Because it's trained off of the internet, which is trained off of the most common blogs, right? So instead I said, hey, I spent like a day going through my email and looking at all the cold email. I save them all in a folder. I look at all the cold email pitches I get, all the outbound I receive. I save them all into shitty cold email, okay cold email, and then good cold email.
Yeah.
Because I use it a lot of times for like training and like teaching people things. But
making fun of people.
Making fun of people, exactly. I have a couple of those too. Really bad ones. Where they spell my name wrong when they reach out to me. But
they say how rubbish everything you're doing is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're the worst person in the world. Now hire me for this, right?
Yeah.
So I took a look at your website and it was garbage.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I spent a day going through the best cold emails I received, along with the best cold emails that we've produced that have gotten a lot of leads and booked appointments for our clients. So I created this master file of like really, really good examples of cold email, along with other things like my frameworks and principles and all of these things, right? Just to basically, if I was going to train an employee on how to write cold email copy, I created all those documents, right? But then
you could probably give it what's bad as well.
Give it what's bad
and tell it this is like never do this stuff.
That's a good idea. I should do that next, definitely.
Yeah.
But basically, it's like as if I was going to train an employee, I create all these documents, but then I optimize it for AI. So instead of just taking a long document saying, hey, optimize this for an LLM because it can make it more efficient and less word count and all of that. Anyways, I put that in a bot. And then now it writes cold email copy just as good, if not better than us. And then we just edit it, right? But the cool thing about this is it's not just about saving time. I used to think that if I was going to use AI in my business, it would just save me time, but it actually produces like better results.
Yeah.
So I thought for a while that, especially with copywriting, if I use AI for copywriting, I might only get copy 80% as good. And maybe I'm okay with that if I can get more output out. But I realized a lot of times it's better because it's only trained on good examples. Like our brain, when we're doing something, when we're creating something, we're going through our inefficient memory to think back to good examples and things that we know. But this is like a perfect memory that can only be trained on good examples. So I think, I mean, we're talking about copy and content, but you can create custom Claude projects, ChatGPTs for anything, right? It's just anything to basically like train it on the data that you want, so it produces the specific output you want. And then it gets really good because it's not this general tool, but it's this one bot that becomes really good at one thing. So I think that's like the simplest thing anyone can do is just start creating a few bots, usually Claude projects if it's copy or content. As everyone listening wants to make more social media content. We all know that social media content helps grow our business. It grows our authority. I love it because it doesn't just bring in new leads, but it also nurtures your existing leads. It's like the one marketing that makes your other marketing better, right?
Yeah. What do they say? 7 hours of content needs to be consumed before somebody wants to.
Yeah. 7-11-4. People need to consume. So Google released data that people need to consume 7 hours of content across 11 touch points on 4 different platforms
within a certain period of time. I think as well, 3 months or something
like that. Yeah. You have to look it up to get the exact, but it's something along those lines.
Yeah.
But essentially people need to see a lot of content before they make a decision, right? They want to really be warmed up to you. And like you said earlier, trust is at an all-time low. People have been burned. They've been scammed. They've hired agencies. They've hired consultants. They've hired coaches. They've bought things that just were garbage, right? So people are skeptical now. And especially the high ticket space is kind of going through a little bit of like a transition. Yeah. So trust is the way out. Personal brand is the way out. But again, the problem is, how do I get all this content out? How do I produce all this content every day without being an influencer? It's like, hey, like how do I actually run my business but then also like create all this content, right? Because like a lot of the biggest YouTubers, they're not running a business, they're just creating content, right? But AI is the way, but to actually do it well, you have to create your own bot.
Yeah, your own bot and your own system and your own process. Like we're sat here now, it's nearly 2:00 in the afternoon on a Friday. I've not produced any of my content yet today.
Yeah.
I've got an offer to make, I've got an email to create, and I've got all my other content. I'm not stressed in any way, shape or form because I know I've got this system that I'll go home, give my insight, probably be related to something we've discussed today or finally doing this podcast or whatever. And I can go home and within an hour or so, I can bash that all out and be on all these different platforms. You know? And I'm not saying that I'm just doing it myself. I've got a couple of VAs that support me, and I think that again is really, really important to have some humans that can help you with these things. Like the humans in the loop. But there is no stress or pressure because I know I've got this system that I've built over time that constantly improves because I'm improving it and working with it. And by going really deep on one AI, I've got much, much better at knowing how to talk to that particular AI because each one has a slightly different process of how you communicate, how you prompt, right? A lot of people get it wrong where they add too much to prompting. And this is just going into prompt engineering. So you guys know, because we're on a mystical tour of the world in this, in this podcast. So prompt engineering wise, it's like cooking, right? So what you should do when you're trying to build a good prompt is you should start with the absolute minimum of what you think is going to work, right? So keeping it really, really simple with very, very few things, telling it what to do rather than telling it not what to do. And then you test. So you have two windows open, maybe one Claude here and one Claude there, right? And you're like, okay, this is the prompt. You take it, you put it into the custom project you've built over here, you test it, and then you get the output. And then you look at the output and you're like, okay, I want this different, this is an issue. And then you go back and you add like one thing to try and fix that thing, one instruction, and you go back and forth. And the reason I say it's like cooking is if you build a prompt that's massive straight away, it's like putting too much salt in. There's no taking salt out, right? But there is adding salt in. So then you might even go and test it live and make a few posts for a couple of weeks or create a few messages for a couple of weeks, and then you'll start bumping into the same issue over and over again. So then you go back and you go, okay, I need to add a bit of paprika into my a bit of smoked paprika over there, or a little bit of whatever. And that's how you prompt well. You don't start with this massive. It becomes that, right? Because you start to learn what needs adding and whatnot, but you don't start with something big. You try and start as simply as you possibly can, and then you add things based on feedback rather than trying to perceive what the problem's going to be and solve that problem up front.
You know what's wild? First of all, I fully disagree. No,
okay,
I'm just kidding.
Good. Yeah, well, you're wrong.
No, no, I completely agree. And actually, that's the same underlying theme of the whole podcast, right? We were talking about earlier how when you're building a business, launching an offer, working on your like marketing channels, you have to just build, right? It's from the lean startup, build, measure, learn, right? Mm-hmm. Start with the minimum viable product, right? In this case, the minimum viable prompt. You should totally brand that.
I'm getting that on a t-shirt.
Dude, no, it's my t-shirt. But you start with something minimal, get feedback, and add more over time. It's basically how you do anything in life, right? Like with cooking, that's a really great example. But that's really cool. I love hearing the prompt engineering. I think what I want to point out there for the audience is like, that still takes time. So even though you're using AI, it still takes time to use AI well. So it's not just, let me type one sentence into ChatGPT and have it fix my life and fix my business, right? Or write this amazing social media post. It still actually takes time to work with a prompt. So yeah, I think with one of the biggest misconceptions with AI is that it's just going to do everything for you. To me, it's more about collaborating with AI, and that's what I'm hearing you say. It's more about collaborating with AI versus delegating to AI. When you delegate to AI, that's when you get your Claude bot commenting and cursing people out on their posts, right?
Yeah, and I've got a story that relates to this. So when I first started my content agency, which is the business I actually lost because I thought I would made it. I was making like 20K every month. I was playing golf, doing all of this stuff, but it was all word of mouth, and I kind of got lucky. Of course, I had to build it and whatnot, and I had to manage the teams and whatever. But when I first started that company, a lot of the writers that I had came from a previous company that I worked for that were ripping everybody off, right? So they were paying people like $8 a 1,000 words or whatever.
Jeez.
And I took those people and I tripled their salaries to come and work for me. And what you would think would happen is that they would work the same amount of hours and make 3 times the amount of money. But what most of them did was just work a third of the time. And it's like that with AI and with the way humans see AI. They're like, oh, AI's here. So now instead of working 40 hours, I can just work 10 hours. No. Work 40 hours.
But get way more output.
Yeah. And like, it's just so funny how people see it that way. And it's like, AI is here already. It's going to be like, I genuinely believe if someone has been using Claude for 3 years, but isn't a lawyer, goes up against a lawyer who's never used AI and doesn't use AI, the Claude guy is going to wipe the floor with the lawyer. Now, if the lawyer starts using AI, they're obviously going to win because they've got all this extra knowledge and they know the right questions to ask. The same way if me and you try and write a post with our copywriting experience, it's going to be so much better than someone who doesn't have any experience, right? But the person who's using it well, they can outpace anyone that's like, I'm not going to use it. And I know I jumped a little bit there, but I do have this big frustration with people who go, oh no, I write all my own content. I don't want to use AI. I like to write all my own content because it doesn't make sense. There's no sense in writing your own posts anymore. It just doesn't. Why are you doing that? Like, oh, I like writing posts. What? Come on. Like, no, you don't. And a lot of the time they are still using AI anyway. They just don't want to tell you that they are.
And even at the very minimum, if you're like really like can't get around that and you still want to write everything yourself. And honestly, sometimes for me personally, first of all, I love that you said that. I think it's a very bold statement. I think probably some people might agree or disagree in the comments, so we can get some good conversation going below.
And I'll reply to those comments with AI.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll reply to your comments with my AI. But sometimes what I do is I use AI for my content, but again, I collaborate with it. I edit it, right? Because again, if you delegate to AI, you're going to get crap results. But if you use AI to make you better, like a superpower, that's a much better framework to approach it from, right? But so for me, I use AI for my content, but at a minimum, if you really want to write your content yourself, at least use AI to come up with the first draft or the ideas or give you hook variations or give you research. So like you can still use it for like around the process you want. You don't have to like give it completely away to AI. But for me as well, what I do is sometimes I purposely write posts manually, just occasionally, not because I have to, because my AI is really good now, but just so I can kind of keep the skill sharp. I think that's important too, because I think if we also outsource too much of the thinking to AI, like we might just eventually become just like sloths, you know?
That's true. It's like you're proving the capability that you can still do it. But I actually think that you can learn with AI as well. It's like you can produce a post and then edit and go back to AI and say like, what do you think of this post? And you can kind of do thinking. What's the word for it? It's like it becomes a thinking partner, like I mentioned earlier, where you go, what do you think about this post? I actually want to give a really good prompt that everybody can take away and use. It's if you have your memory turned on in whatever AI you use, you can give a post or an email or whatever else and say, stand in the shoes of my ideal client and tell me what they think of this. and you just get like awesome feedback.
That's a good one.
It's really, really good. It works for everything. Could be an offer, could be an email, a landing page, or whatever. But this back and forth collaboration and challenging AI and saying, well, really, should it be like this? Why would this hook work like that? Why did this hook work and why didn't this one work? Right? That's the way you should be using it. Like moving to thumbnails, but on this same thing. You know, I said earlier, Nano Banana is really good at making thumbnails. What I tend to do then is, because I'm not a designer, right? I don't know. I love making stuff, but I don't know if I'm any good at it. It's like, I know I'm good at copy. I don't know if I'm good at design. But I'll take my my thumbnail, put it into ChatGPT, and say, "What do you think of this thumbnail? Give me feedback."
Yeah, so
this is what I'm going for.
So you're using it to actually teach you. You're not just outsourcing all your thinking to AI and just letting it do its thing. You're actually using it to help you get better. I do that as well. I think it's really really smart.
And back and forth, right? So then it's like, this says, oh, I would change this. I would make this slightly bigger. I would. It uses words I don't even know about design. Increase the whatever of this and put. So then I'll take the bits from there and put it back into the Gemini Nano Banana, and then that will update the thumbnail based on the feedback from the AI. And you can do that with all kinds of stuff. It's like, oh, what do you think of this banner? What do you think of this thing? And like gradually feedback between two different AIs, so they're kind of working together. And that makes me excited if you get to a point where there's an agent that can kind of do that loop. You know, like it's like, oh, create the post, QC. You failed QC because of this. Okay, now update the post. Okay, QC. And it's kind of, because it's two AIs.
Cross-checking each other,
Yeah, rather than one where eventually it gets bored and it thinks it's used too many tokens and it wants you to just shut up and take the answer. It's like, oh yeah, this is great now. 10 out of 10. If you then go and it's two AIs going back and forth, you get an even better output.
Because they critique each other. Wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that yet, just using two at the same time. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And if you cross platforms, one ChatGPT, one Claude, you get like different perspectives, and that stuff's really cool. Super fun.
That's cool. Yeah, so it can really make you a lot smarter. I think that's pretty awesome. Because I was watching a video today about how a lot of college kids are just outsourcing their essays to AI, and some of them are getting like expelled from school or like under review or whatever. But then they're not using it the right way. They're just having it try to do everything versus actually trying to help them with their essays to get better and kind of collaborate, right? So that's been my biggest learning lesson: is use it as a collaborator. Don't just delegate to it. I think I think that's how you actually produce better work, but also learn more in the process. But it's just like having like an assistant that's just like super, super smart and can just help you with anything, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So for the last few minutes, even though I've been saying that for a while, we meant to go for 45, but now it's an hour and a half.
I'm good.
But yeah,
we can keep going.
Yeah, I love talking about this stuff. So I want to talk about a couple of more use cases in my business. So you took some time to talk about your favorite ways to use AI and your best tools, right? I'm going to talk as well about mine, not necessarily the tools, because I want to talk about the actual areas of my business I'm using it underneath the tools, right? Because again, you cover the best tools. I use the same ones, right?
Yeah.
So the most common ways I'm using AI in my business and the ways that it's helped me the most is, first, like we already talked about, content creation. Created my own Claude project, uploaded my tone of voice, my style, my best post, so that it has good examples to learn from. It knows how to actually talk like me and not sound like a robot, right? Also, one thing as well is, once I've created that bot, the other way to get good AI written content that actually sounds authentic and is good is give it like raw material. So I don't just go into Claude and say, hey, write me a post about B2B marketing. I talk on my phone and voice note for 5 minutes about my idea and my topics and my stories, and then it writes that. So it's still really me writing it, right?
That's an awesome thing.
Yeah. So that's the difference, right? So don't just like be lazy with your prompts. Actually give it, like, insert yourself into the prompt, right?
Talk to it.
Exactly. Because then that's the difference between a post that just looked like it's the top 5 tips that came from a blog versus a post that's still your originality, right? So you have to preserve your originality and your uniqueness, right? That's why people follow you. That's why people follow personal brands, right?
Yeah.
So that's been one way. But I know we've mostly talked about marketing use cases, which I think is where everyone should start. I think marketing is kind of the easiest to start to do with AI. But I know we mostly talked about copywriting and content creation. So I want to talk about a couple of other ways I've been using AI. We used it a lot for our operations to be more efficient. I mentioned this earlier that I have with a team of 7 people, or 8 including me, we're getting like the work done of like 16 people, and it's largely because of AI, right? So what I've done and what I recommend everyone does is go audit your workflow. 2 things. 1, look at your customer journey. I mean, if you haven't done this in general, like this is really good to do for just understanding your business and optimizing it, but write down your customer journey. You could use a whiteboard or an app like Miro. and just look at your business as a straight line, almost like a conveyor belt, right? What happens at the beginning? What happens at the end? Well, first we get attention somehow. That maybe it's LinkedIn, maybe it's cold email, maybe it's ads. Then we get leads. Then how do we convert those leads into calls? Well, usually a setter's reaching out and they're booking them for a call. Then there's a second call. Then there's a proposal, and then someone signs up, and then they go through the 4-month delivery. And then what happens? Do they offboard? Do they ascend? Do they upsell? Right? And then you document all those steps. So this is also how you actually optimize your business and understand like what the hell it is you're actually doing. But now. So like this is what I was doing before AI, right? Because this is how I, figure out like where I need to build systems, where we need to kind of focus on, where the bottlenecks are, and what we actually need to improve. Again, this is another way to avoid shiny object syndrome because I'm not just coming up with random ideas. I'm actually looking at my business on paper and seeing like what needs immediate improvement.
I'm going to implement this as soon as I get home because I've never done that.
Oh, dude, it's the best thing ever. We can do it together after the podcast.
Yeah.
But basically, when you look at your business as like a value chain, right, just a conveyor belt, you can look at where are things breaking down, right? So every time I want to grow my business or I want to like optimize it, I'm not just thinking about random ideas that I, again, saw on a Facebook feed or saw my friend posting about. I'm looking at my business as a straight line and where are things breaking down? What is the single part that if I fix would allow more people to go through that line, right? This is just constraint theory, right? So the constraint theory is basically that you don't grow your business by just thinking of how to grow your business. You grow your business by finding the thing that's blocking your growth.
Eli Goldratt, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know where it actually came from.
It's awesome. The books are really good. Yeah.
I got to check that out then. Yeah. So basically there's something in your business that's blocking the growth. Maybe you're getting a lot of leads and the conversion's low, right? Maybe it's the opposite, right? Maybe people are going to your delivery, but your delivery sucks and then they're leaving, they're not ascending, their lifetime value is low, right? But if you look at your business on paper, usually the problem will be obvious. And if not, just look at the numbers, right? Because then just look, it's as simple as looking at it like a math equation. Which number, if I increased it, would make the biggest impact on my growth, right? So that's what I've always been doing. But now with AI, here's where it gets really cool. Now I can look at my whole workflow of my business, right? It's like one master workflow and see where can we use AI, right? What takes us the most time? What takes us the most money? Where do we have staff that are really hard to hire because they're very skilled and maybe we can kind of like mitigate some of that? Where am I relying too much on one person? Key man risk, right? Where if this one person leaves, I'm screwed. Yeah. And maybe I can have more AI to kind of like help support that. So audit your business and see where you can use AI for operations. And then like we talked about earlier, create custom GPTs or Claude projects, which again, you don't need to be a developer to do. It's literally as simple as just creating a bot and uploading files to it and giving it instructions. And honestly, you can ask ChatGPT, hey, I want to make a bot about this. Give me the files and the instructions for it, right?
Yeah. And you can ask it why it's not working.
Exactly, yeah. And then you kind of tweak it, right? So, besides using AI for content and copy, best thing I did was just use it across my operations to just make us more efficient by auditing myself. Second thing is the time audit, right? So, take a week or two. You've done this before as well. Take a week or two where you just write down everything you do every 15, 30 minutes, right? And then you can look at how you spent the last 2 weeks. So if you're complaining like, I'm so busy, I have no time to grow my business, which is a ridiculous thing to say. But if you're really like, obviously you're doing stuff that's not growing your business, so just stop doing that.
Yeah. Watching cat videos.
Yeah, cat videos, exactly. So if you're like, feel like you need more time in the day, every time I'm too busy, I do a time audit. I look at what have I done for the last 2 weeks. I write down all the tasks, and then I'll take a picture of that. I'll put it into ChatGPT, and I'll have it actually organize that into like categories. Like, oh, you're spending this percentage of time on operations or admin, and this is what I do with consulting clients a lot too, to kind of help them get their time back, right? Even though I'm usually helping our clients with marketing and lead gen and sales, a lot of times we find other problems that are actually getting in the way of them doing that, right?
That's a whole other topic.
Yeah, for sure. So we do the time audit. And then I see where am I spending all my time? And then I just look at, okay, out of all these things I'm spending my time on, what are the easiest things I can get off my plate? As in the cheapest to hire for, the easiest to automate, or what can I delete? So the DAD framework, right? Delete, automate, delegate. So if I'm doing all these things and I want to get some things off my plate, either with AI or with hiring someone, but usually it's AI first. First, I think, what can I delete? What can I stop doing? And it's not going to negatively impact my business, because if it's not going to hurt my business, why am I doing that, right? So always deletion is like really freeing. Then automation, where can I use AI to do some of these things? And then whatever's left, it's delegation. And this is the 3-step process I've always used to buy back my time and just keep growing my business, right? That's awesome. But that's a way you can actually, if like people that struggle to know where to use AI in their business and where to start, it's literally that. Look at where your time's going. Look at how your business functions and what needs improvement or more consistency, and then just start there to build bots for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I've not thought of, I've done the time audit, but not with AI. And I've not done a time audit for quite a long time. So I think my cat video level might have gone up a
Maybe
bit
you'll have
too
to
much
see, yeah.
since then. So we're going to have to see if that, but it does make me happy. So
yeah, not everything's about optimizing and squeezing productivity out of the day, like being a machine, right?
Yeah. But those ways are super awesome. I'm going to test out the end to end because I've never really done that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I know that everything runs towards this email, and then what about after that? Like where does it go? So
it's really illuminating. Yeah, it's really it's a great exercise. Yeah, I mean, if you look it up online, it's called like a customer journey or a value chain assessment. It kind of comes from like supply chain. Yeah, that's really useful. So anyways, as we wrap up, any final thoughts or fun things, predictions? Where do you think things are going?
Yeah, so I think things are going in the direction where AI is going to make there such a gap between like where good content lies and bad content lies, because so many people can make content, but so many people are like not very good at it. So we're going to end up seeing like all the people that are super lazy and just saying, hey, ChatGPT, write me a post about marketing, and then posting it and all of that. And then we're going to see the people that become more authentic and raw and real. And I think this is why that becomes really, really important in terms of authenticity and storytelling, because we're going to enter a world of micro audiences where you can have 1,000 people that are really, really loyal, and they're going to stick with you forever. This whole like trying this 10K program and then going to another 10K program and then going to another one is going to be gone. It's going to end. And it will literally be people that turn up and are real and honest about what they do and what they're working on every day will build an audience and will be familiar. So if I was starting out today and now, I would use AI to amplify this and get as much content out on as many platforms as possible with consistency. And when I say consistency, I mean every day, right? Maybe you want to schedule stuff for Sunday or whatever if you don't want to be online, but you need to be doing something and putting it out there every single day, right? And it needs to be around a message that is your villain, the thing that you're stand against, the thing that you're up for. If you think things that you shouldn't post, you should post them, right? The things that you think people will get annoyed about or won't believe or whatever, post them. Put all of this stuff out there and become the version of you that repels most people, right, that aren't your kind of person, and attracts the small enough group of people. And that's all you really need to develop a business. And if you keep doing it, you will stand out enough that you have enough people to just keep running and doing what you're doing forever. If you go down the route of like, oh, AI everything, automation everything, all of that, you're going to become a thing of the past pretty quickly, because essentially you just blend in with everyone else and all the other crap that's out there. So yeah, that's my prediction is that AI will become less of a like, oh, look at all these amazing things that you can do really easily, and more of a people using it as a thinking partner and people just getting zero traction using it because they think they need to post every day.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's been my theory as well. That we're already seeing it happen, but the value of personal branding is going to go up, and real personal branding. Also, doing things like this video podcast where people can see, okay, this is real. This is a real person. So that's going to be huge. I mean, it already is huge, but it's only going to get more, because as there's more artificial stuff happening, people want more real connection. Also, I think things like experiences, going back to doing business in person, right? We're actually about to launch some like direct mail campaigns. They're sending people like stuff in the mail, right? Just doing some. So I think the old school stuff is going to come back a lot.
Yeah, I love that, because it's like now nobody gets mail. So if you get one, you know, I think it's also the same with email. So many people don't end up in the inbox, that when you get an email in the inbox, it's like it's more of a thing. You know? I think cold email, because a lot of people now won't be able to get through all the barriers that people put up.
Yeah, for sure.
So
definitely.
I think if someone sends me a letter, I'm like, ooh, it's
exactly. Yeah. When do I ever get those?
It's got a little excitement factor. Whereas I remember in the 90s, you'd have a big stack of them, right?
Yeah, and then no one would read it. Then you got an email and you were like, whoa, an email, right?
Yeah, what's this? Exactly. So I think these things do rotate and change over time, for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, anything. So if you're wondering like, how do I future-proof my business against AI? How do I protect AI from like ruining my business or my industry or even taking my job? This is a way, right? You just have to focus on things that AI cannot do: personal brand, connection, experiences, doing business in person, or also like, let's say you're in the coaching space, less about courses, more about like direct one-to-one coaching, actually helping people, right?
Yeah. And I've got one story that really highlights that I'll just tell quickly before we get to the end. I was sat outside in Hanoi with my mum before she went back to the UK a couple of weeks ago, and me and my wife were discussing a business idea that we had, and my mum was like, oh, shh, don't say it too loud because people are going to hear you. And
that's a UK thing, right?
They might steal the idea. Well, I think it's just like everybody kind of thinks that you have an idea and it's so individual and unique that like only you can do it. And if someone hears it, they'll run away and do it. And I just said to my mum, I was like, listen, mum, The difference in the idea is not the idea. The difference in the idea is me, right? I'm the difference in the idea. So it will work this way because I'm doing it, and I'm doing it as me. And that's the thing that people need to remember now. It's like, you need to bring your real self to that table because you're the difference maker. Your unique experience, your intellectual property is the experiences that you've been through, the things that you've learned by doing stuff. And they're the things that you need to share. Because if you've been through it and you've overcome it, there's a good chance somebody else is going through it and maybe needs to hear that thing today. Right? So don't worry about, oh, everything's been done, oh, AI is going to do this. Yeah, if you make a bland business that isn't centered around you and what you do, probably. But if you make a business that's centered around you and who you are, then absolutely not, because there isn't another you.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
So that's two predictions, 2 ways to get ahead. Build your business around things AI can't replicate, right? Your personality, your story, intellectual property, past experiences, right? Also even your team, like your team is now more important in that sense, right? Like, you know, like AI can't copy, like someone else can't copy your team and your culture, right? And what that actually creates. And the second thing is use AI and use it well, and use it for all the things that you should be using it for in the right way. Use it as a collaborator, not as a tool that you just pass things off to.
Yeah, totally. That's it. And if you do those two things, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome, man. Well, we'll have to do this again soon.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Not 3 years next time.
Not 3 years next time, yeah. And so where can people find you? So we'll link everything down below, but I think you have a school group as well where you teach AI stuff.
Yeah, so there's my school community. LinkedIn is a good place to follow me as well. And of course, join my email list.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. We'll link it down below. And thanks for listening, everybody.